What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today, you guys, with a brand new season of Belair. You guys, this is season number 4, the final season of Belair, episode number 1, and the episode was titled The Maybes. So, before we go ahead and jump into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and get into this episode of Bel Air, shall we? All right, you guys. So this episode, now you guys remember season 3 ended with Will being kidnapped, right? So we open up this episode and we see Will. So Will was rescued, and we see as he's having PTSD from being kidnapped. We see Aunt Vivian. You guys also remember at the end of season 3, we found out that Aunt Vivian was pregnant. And so she's standing in the mirror and her stomach, look like she's a good, good and far into the pregnancy, but only to find out that she had a pillow under her shirt. Just seeing how, I guess how she would look being pregnant at the particular age that she's at. So then we see as we found out through Hillary that, remember at the end of last season with her and Lamarcus, they ended up getting married and they went on their honeymoon, and she went into the room to find an unconscious Lamarcus. Well, lo and behold, Lamarcus did pass away. And then we see as Will and Carlton are getting ready for school. So we see them as they get to school. They still have black sis. And then it's also Ashley's freshman year of college, right? Not college, but high school. And it's Will and Carlton's senior year of college. High school. I keep saying college, but it's high school. So they're selling out of the Black Cess merch that they are selling. Then we see that Will and Lisa, they're still in a relationship with each other. Carlton has a new love interest. Her name is Marissa, right? And so we see at one point that Will, Carlton, and Lisa, they are having a conversation with each other, right? And so Will kind of blacks out and he goes back to the point where he was kidnapped. And then we see that he was rescued by Jeffrey, right? So Lisa asked him, like, are you okay? Like, did it happen again? And so Lisa and Carlton are worried about Will at this point, right? So then we move over to Hillary. So she's at the house and she's getting ready for an appearance that she's going to in honor of Lamarcus. And Uncle Phil comes in, and Uncle Phil is asking Hillary, like, hey baby, you okay? And she was like, she's fine. She says she feels like for her that, she's his wife. And he's like, yeah, and you're a wife that just lost your husband. And she feels like seeing her will bring closure to people who loved Lamarcus. I was like, wow, that's got to be a terrible thing to deal with. So Uncle Phil is like, you can stay here anytime. She's like, yes, Daddy, you and Mom have both told me the same thing. She's like, yeah, both got to get on the same page when it comes to, the scripts that you guys give to each other, right? So then we see as Will and Carlton are meeting with, like, I guess like the college prep advisor with Will. Will doesn't have a list of schools at all that he is looking at to go to. Whereas with Carlton, Carlton knows where he wants to go and his head is 100% set on going to Princeton. And the woman that the advisor is telling him, like, Carlton, I get that you want to go to Princeton, but what if you don't get into Princeton? Like, you need to have some backups. Whereas with Will, I just need some schools from you, because we need to figure something out with you as well, right? Will knows what he wants to do. Will just doesn't have any schools lined up. He wants to go to school for business with a um, a minor in like entrepreneurship, right? So then we see as Uncle Phil is meeting up with the guy. I can't remember what his name was. I think his last name was Campbell or something like that, right? Because he wanted to name the place Campbell Square. So you guys remember Uncle Phil got involved in that, and so now they changed the name of it from Campbell Square to, I think it's something Legacy Park or something like that. And so at this point, they know what they want to do, but at this point they don't have any big box retailers that are willing to come in and open up businesses there, right? So the partner was like, well, I know people and I can give some kickbacks. And Uncle Phil was like, that I don't want, like, with my business and everything, that is not something that I necessarily want to do, right? And so we then move on, and we see, actually, before we move on, Uncle Phil did mention to him that he hired a PR firm to help them, right? Now we move on to school, and so we see Ashley. So Ashley is still with the young guy Eli, right? So Ashley went in her purse and pulled out a pregnancy test. Now earlier in the episode, Ashley went into her mom and dad's room to get her makeup, right? And while she was in there, Ashley managed to find quite a few pregnancy tests that Aunt Vivian had taken. And Eli was like, whoa, Ashley, all we've done is kiss up to this point. She was like, it's not mine. She was like, it's my mom's. And she was like, I don't know what to say. And, she's like, and I haven't told Carlton or Will. He was like, well, if you haven't told them, they're about to come up here right now. So you might want to put that away. So Ashley dipped away. And then Carlton and Will came up, and they gave Eli a little bit of a hard time about Ashley, right? But once he walked away, they both said, I actually really like that kid, right? So then we hear a voice in the back calling Carlton's name. And lo and behold, it's Amira, who has gotten out of rehab, and she's now going to Belair Prep. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, Carlton, you got a little girlfriend over there. So how is this going to play out for you? But we'll see how the season, plays out for Carlton and Miss Amira. Now, we move on and we see as Will, he's with Jazz, right? So Jazz is asking about everybody in the family with the exception of Hillary. And Will was like, you can ask about Hillary. He was like, so how is Hillary? And Will told him, like, she's doing all these memorials. And Jazz is like, I've wanted to reach out to Hillary, but I didn't want to reach out to Hillary, make it look like I was being, insensitive to her, or this and that. And I get where Jazz is coming from, but it's like, dude, maybe the best thing would be to reach out to her and just let the chips fall where they may. Because I mean, but it is, I want you guys to tell me, like, how would you handle this? This is his ex, and her husband has passed away. Like, ugh, it would be a difficult one. But the thing is, you're cool with her cousin. You're her cousin's best friend. So I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think, and we will discuss it in the comments below, you guys. So we do see that Will and Carl, not Will and Carlton, but Will and Jazz, they are out trying at this particular botanical place, right? And they both want to look and see if they can find anything on Jeffrey, right? Because they're still looking for Jeffrey. Because at this point, Jeffrey is missing. So they want to see the video footage that the woman has, right? And so Will comes up with the good lie that he saw a dog in the window display. So he pretends like he has a dog that he's looking for, right? So then we see as Carlton, he's at lunch with Lisa, and you hear Amira in the background, and Amira keeps mentioning that she's gone to therapy and all that kind of stuff, right? And I was not therapy, but rehab. And Carlton feels a way that she keeps mentioning the word rehab, right? He is happy that she's good, but he just wants to be able to move forward with his life and not have to discuss rehab. And I'm like, okay, Carlton, I get where you're coming from. Cool. So then Will joins them. And so Will has this screenshot of a G Wagon, right? And so he wants Carlton to see if he can Photoshop to see what the actual license plate is on the G Wagon. And so Lisa tells Will that both she and Carlton are worried about him. And so Lisa left, and Carlton was like, yeah, Will, like, we really are worried about you. Like, are you okay? And so Will was like, I'm good, Carlton. Like, I just need help finding Jeffrey. So then we see Aunt Vivian with her friend Joan. And so Aunt Vivian and Joan, they are both talking about this woman that pledged them into their sorority, right? And me knowing that Janet is going to be on here this season, the original Aunt Viv, I'm thinking this might be her character. So Joan has commissioned Aunt Vivian to do a painting for the woman, and Aunt Vivian was like, "I would prefer to never see that woman ever again," right? So Joan also found out Aunt Vivian told Joan that she's pregnant. So then we see Will. So Will is talking to Uncle Phil, and he's questioning Will about where he went for lunch for 2 hours and why was he at Jeffrey's apartment. So Will is like, you know what, Uncle Phil, the better question is, why weren't you at Jeffrey's apartment? And you have more important things to worry about than where I was at lunch for 2 hours. I was like, oh, Will kind of I mean, that mouth was slick. I would have, me personally, I would have cussed Will's ass clean slap smooth the fuck out because who you talking to, sir? Ain't no way. So then after that, we see Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian talking, right? And Aunt Viv is like, I understand where Will is coming from and I understand how he feels. Will is basically beating himself up. He's thinking that he's the reason that Jeffrey is missing, right? And I was like, I get that. I can understand that. So then Uncle Phil was like, yeah, I think that Will does blame himself, but inadvertently now he's blaming me. And I was like, that is true as well, that he is blaming you as well. So after that, and Uncle Phil was like, I've talked to Penelope and I've talked to Frederick, but no one knows anything and I can't go to the police. So it's not much that I can do at this point, right? So and Viv told Uncle Phil, like, I got some good news. And I thought she was about to tell him that she's pregnant. But instead of her telling him she's pregnant, she told him about the painting that she was commissioned to do. I was like, ooh. I was like, how's this going to be when it comes out that you're actually pregnant? But moving on. So we move on, and so we see Will. So Will is coming up with a list of schools, but he at the same time is still focused on Jeffrey, right? Because he has a notepad on the side of him, and he still has that picture of that license plate, and he's trying to decode the license plate. So Carlton comes in, right? And Carlton was telling Will like it's a E, not a D. So Carlton was able to blow it up and realize what the license plate was, right? And so Carlton also tells Will, like, whatever you need from me, I got you because he's like, I know where you are and I know where you know, I know where you are and I want to help you like you've helped me. Now, after that, we do see as the student athletes are telling where they're going to school. So Lisa made the announcement that she will be going to Howard, right? And also we have Hillary there because they're honoring Lamarcus. So Hillary got up and she broke down crying, and Vivian was like, "It's okay, babe." She's like, "No, it's not okay." She was like, "Lamarcus deserves so much better than what he got, and he also deserved so much better than her." And I was like, "Yikes, terrible." And so Aunt Vivian and Uncle Phil they ran after Hillary. So then we get back to the house. So we see Will and Jazz, and they're still working, trying to find Jeffrey, right? So Hillary came in, and Jazz following behind her. He was like, I wanted to reach out to you, but I also wanted to give you space. And she told him, you are the last person that I wanted to see, especially with the shit that we did. And she was like, you know what, Jazz, do me a favor and leave me the fuck alone. I said, damn, Hillary. Like, I get it that you pissed, but okay. Now, we see his Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian, they got the kids together, right? And Uncle Phil told them about the painting. So they're there to celebrate Aunt Vivian. And so Ashley was like, okay, mom, so you're not pregnant? And Aunt Vivian is looking at her like, what the hell are you talking about, girl? So Ashley was like, yeah, those pregnancy tests that I found. And I was like, ooh, Ashley, you just set your mama up. So Aunt Vivian went ahead and told Uncle Phil, yep, I'm pregnant. Also, I forgot to mention that Vivian did go to her OBGYN earlier in the episode, and her OBGYN basically told her, yes, you are having a geriatric pregnancy, but with your health and everything, you're you're good to have a normal, healthy pregnancy. So after that, we move on. And so Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian, they're in bed talking about, having a baby. He was like, I'm gonna be 64 when this child graduates high school. We were planning on being empty nesters, traveling the world. Uncle Phil said having sex in every room. Um, then he was like, you know what, babe? I'm here with you the entire process. And I was like, I love it. So then we see Hillary and Will, they're talking to each other, right? And Will is still beating himself up about what happened to Jeffrey. He's like, if I hadn't gone to Jeffrey's apartment that night, I wouldn't have got kidnapped. If I had fought back that night, I wouldn't have got kidnapped. So he's literally just blaming himself for what happened that night, right? Then Hillary is blaming herself for what happened to Lamarcus. She was like, I pushed Lamarcus to go on this honeymoon. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And so so we'll notice that she's packed her bags and she's going to Costa Rica because Lamarcus wants to build a house there. So her going there, she's hoping, I guess, that that'll give her some peace and resolution with Lamarcus. So then we see Carlton. So Carlton is having his interview with the guy from Princeton, right? And so Carlton is, they end the interview. Carlton realizes that Carlton realizes that they had the conversation and the man kind of had a but at the end of the conversation, and Carlton was like, well, what's the but? And the man was basically like, he wants to know what Carlton's grit is. And so Carlton was like, well, I'm a recovering drug addict, and last year I almost died. And I was like, I got where Carlton was coming from, but I was like, I don't know if that's necessarily what they wanted to hear, Carlton. But we'll see where it goes and how it goes with Carlton. But yeah, that's really it. I don't think, honestly, I don't think that Carlton is going to get into Princeton, but we'll see. Now we see as Will, he found the G wagon that kidnapped where the people kidnapped him, right? And when Carlton finished his meeting, the I guess guidance counselor, whatever you want to call her, she found him and she asked him how did the meeting go, and he told her, and she's like, "Have you? What about Will?" She's like, "Because Will missed our check-in today." And so then we see as Uncle Phil and the Campbell guy, they were discussing this interview that they're going to have, right? And in came Jeffrey with his arm in a sling. So Jeffrey is telling him that Frederick and Penelope, they're safe. So Jeffrey asked, not Jeffrey, but Uncle Phil asked Jeffrey, like, are you working for them again? And he said yes, in order to pay off his debt. So Uncle Phil says, well, what does that mean? And Jeffrey says, well, they know about this project that you have going on, and they're looking for a way to launder their money. Lincoln Legacy Heights is the name of it. And I was like, fuck. Uncle Phil is in a precarious situation. It's like, y'all love Jeffrey. Jeffrey is a part of the family. What do you do? So then we end the episode. So we see as Will and Carlton. So Carlton found Will, and he told Will once again, he got his back, right? So we see as Will and Carlton got out of his car and went and bust the shit out of that G-Wagon. And that was the end of the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments section below. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Like the video, share the video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. So episode 2 and 3, I will have them up before the weekend. That is my goal. That is my hope, to have them up before the weekend. But again, you guys, be sure to let me know what you guys thought about the video. Subscribe. Share the video wherever you share your videos. Like the video again. And I will catch you guys in the next one. And if I don't see you guys, if you guys don't see a video from me on Thursday, you see it on Friday. And if you don't see a video from me on Thursday, I want to say it here and now. Have a happy Thanksgiving to anybody and everybody who celebrates it. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, you guys, bye y'all.